Do you need a resume as a babysitter? Stay tuned to find out. Hey sitters, welcome back to another video. It's Lydia, thanks for joining me. Today I'm here with Liz, who is going to be talking to us about resumes and if babysitters need one and how we can use them. So if you don't mind introducing yourself and giving us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Thank you.
I'm Liz M. Lopez. I am an executive career and business coach, which means that I work with professionals who are in the kind of corporate world, like have a job, so to speak. And I also work with business owners. And babysitters are a really interesting dynamic in this because you're a little bit of both. So really happy to talk to you today about resumes and how that can help you in building your client list.
Thank you. So my first question, and maybe some of our questions, is that what is a resume?
It's a great question. So let's start there. Very simple. It's a collection of your skills and your history. And for some of you who may be, younger, or this is kind of one of the first jobs that you have, you may not have a ton of work history. So your resume is going to include things like your contact information. It's going to include a little summary about some of your skills, what you do, some of the work that you've done, your education, anything extracurricular that may be interesting to potential families that may hire you, as well as any volunteer work that you may have done as well. It's a great way to put it all in one place so that people who are thinking of hiring you have a way to really look at you all in one spot, one page, and see a summary of what you have to offer.
Okay, so on the resume, do we need to include everything? Do we need to talk about all the jobs that we've had previously that may or may not relate to babysitting? Does every single babysitting job that we've ever done need to be on there?
Well, it depends. If you've had 3 babysitting jobs, then yeah, you probably have room to include those. If you've babysat for 40 different families over the past 2 years, you don't necessarily have to include every single one.
Okay.
You can summarize those. You can say that you've, provided childcare services for 40 different families, and then you can talk about age ranges, geographical areas, any special needs that were involved. So you can really kind of create different segmentations of that and summarize that in different ways, but you don't have to put everything you've ever done. But you do want to talk about certainly your babysitting jobs, as well as other jobs that you may have had that, even if it's at a restaurant, lifeguard at a pool, all of those things have a way of being relevant.
Some sitters may be finding jobs on platforms that match a sitter and a family. And on that platform, they usually ask for a bio. Should we be treating that as our resume? Should we be posting what our resume has in our bio? How should we go about using that bio section?
A bio and a resume can be very different things. A bio is more of a conversational type of summary of your history. A resume is more of a formal delineation of a career and education and skills. Okay. So they're not always very similar. However, the information that you have on your resume very often can be information that could be really relevant to some of the questions that these platforms are going to ask in terms of, what kind of experience do you have, what some of your skills, what are you really good at doing, what certifications do you have, all that's going to be on your resume. So when you put together a resume, you are immediately preparing yourself for a lot of those other platforms.
So how can babysitters like myself make a resume be personalized, and make it theirs to make it stand out?
Great. Well, I think first of all, babysitters that are coming to conversations or interviews with a resume already have a leg up, right? That's not real standard. So anyone who takes the time to put this together is showing a higher degree of professionalism. There are a lot of templates online, and I will say this: if you're building a resume to just either email to a family or to print out and take to a family, a template can be okay. But if you are going to go into the job market and maybe look for jobs that are on different types of online portals, you need to be careful because those templates often don't work with those types of portals. Okay. So simple is best. A simple one-page resume is great. Now, in terms of fancy design, again, if you're taking it, just printing it out for a family, you can kind of have some different design elements to it. In general, simpler is better. Okay. Where you can really personalize it is by really being specific about what has been your skill set. right?
Okay.
So if you're really good at crafting with the kids, you're really good at organizing, or you've been a lifeguard before, you know, you teach swimming, you can also do lessons at the same time. Like if there's special attributes that you have, some of your strengths perhaps, you're like, I'm someone who's always on time, I'm super organized, I speak 3 languages, like anything that's unique to you, that's a great way to personalize your resume and to stand out from other candidates.
Okay, so things like your hobbies or things you like to do in your spare time do not need to be on a resume to make it
No.
personalized.
I mean, in this respect, especially if you're younger, it's not going to be a really big deal if you include some of that. But as you get older, you're not going to include those types of things in a resume. So it's probably best not to start.
So when in the process of becoming a babysitter for a family or for a client, should we offer our resume or show them our resume? When does that come into play?
Well, a great question, and it really kind of depends on the dynamic of it, right? What kind of conversation are you having? Is this someone that, you know, is in the neighborhood, you've had a casual conversation? Then you may want to say, well, you know, are you scheduling an interview? Are you going to have a formal conversation? Take it with you.
Okay.
Did they ask you, send me some information? Then you may want to send them an email, and attached to the email, have your formal resume.
Okay.
So some of it depends on the dynamic of how that's going.
Okay.
If it's something where you're responding to an ad, I would definitely recommend writing a nice opening and then having your resume attached.
Okay. Alrighty. So depending on how you met the client and the casual conversation that you may or may not have depends on when to put that resume out
Right.
there.
But I will say this though, and I'm glad you asked, even if you sent it to them before or you've emailed them, if you're going to meet with the family for like an interview or maybe a house check, take it with you.
Okay.
To have a nice printed copy, take it with you.
Okay. That's good to know. And then how often should we be updating this resume?
I would say, you know, in general, we tell the professional community every 6 months.
Okay.
But I would say if anything big happens, like if you start working with a different type of family, or maybe you were nannying over the summer, did something different, you got a new certification, anything there's new information that could be valuable for your potential families or employers to know about, update the resume.
If some of the babysitters are just getting started, they're 13, 14, 15 years old, may not have had jobs previously, what can be on their resume?
That's a really great question, and here's what I love about this. Just about everybody in the world uses a resume, right? Whether you go into business for yourself, there's, you know, certain types of resumes that you have, but if you get jobs in, you know, even as a teenager or in the corporate world as you get older, you're always going to need a resume. So starting early is a great idea. It's a wonderful way to stand out against other candidates that may be interviewing with the same family. So even if it's super simple, it has your contact information, has a summary of the skill sets that you're bringing to the table, any certifications you may have, you know, like if experience that you may have had either with younger siblings or cousins, and an education, you know, what type of classes are you taking in school, what kind of grades do you have, and again, any volunteer work.
Yeah.
So even if you have a really limited history of work, you can bring other things and just make just a simple one-pager, just a great way to present yourself as a candidate. And it's a wonderful way to start thinking both as a professional and as a business owner.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for all of your information and your time. This is such useful information for babysitters to really start thinking ahead and being organized and prepared to go get that babysitting job that they want. Sitters, if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comment section below. Getting those certifications, that resume together, and just being prepared, ready to go into that interview is such a great way to put your foot forward. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.